There's a quiet kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't beg for the spotlight, and doesn't ask for permission. It simply works, consistently, deliberately, until the world can't ignore it. If you've ever felt the urge to share your plans before they're ready, you're not alone. But what if I told you your silence might be your most powerful tool? Every time you discuss what you're going to accomplish, you give away a little of the energy meant to bring it to life. Every sentence becomes a doorway for doubt to walk through. Not just others' doubts, but eventually your own. The more you expose, the more fragile your vision becomes. Why do we speak too soon? Often, it's not pride, it's hope. Hope that someone will nod, will cheer, will say, "Yes, go for it." But what you need is an affirmation. It's momentum. And that doesn't come from words. It comes from doing. Imagine Leonardo da Vinci building his masterpiece. Not once did he pause to announce what each brushstroke meant. He painted in silence, letting his genius unfold without applause. Your journey deserves the same reverence. Don't mistake early feedback for fuel. Most people aren't equipped to see what you see, not because they're against you, but because your dream wasn't handed to them. It was entrusted to you. And if you hand it off too soon, it loses its shape, its focus, its fire. So ask yourself, are you looking for support or trying to outsource your confidence? What would happen if you just got to work? No announcements, no previews, just intention, backed by quiet action. What if your progress was a secret garden, growing, blooming, and thriving, long before anyone knew it existed? That's where real power lives. Think of the legends, not the ones who talked about what they might do, but the ones who simply showed up and changed the world. Marie Curie didn't host press conferences about her experiments. She toiled in shadows, changing the future of science. Michael Jordan didn't narrate his training sessions, he just trained. He became undeniable through repetition, not rhetoric. When you keep your direction close, you build pressure, like steam in a sealed chamber, like an arrow pulled tight before it's released. That pressure becomes focus, and that focus becomes force. But let it escape through casual talk, and suddenly, what could have been a breakthrough is reduced to a concept. You don't need to defend your dream. You need to protect it. You don't need applause. You need endurance. You don't need people to understand. You need to become the kind of person who makes understanding irrelevant. This isn't about isolation. It's about sacred discipline. If you were baking bread, you wouldn't open the oven every 5 minutes to check. You'd let it rise, let it breathe, let it become. Your vision is no different. Guard it. Nurture it. Let it strengthen until it's strong enough to speak for itself. Because when the moment is right, when the roots are deep enough and the results are undeniable, there will be no need for explanation. People will see. They'll feel the change. They'll sense the shift. And they'll know something powerful has arrived, even if they never saw it coming. So hold the vision. Walk the path. Do the work. Let your actions tell the story you never had to say out loud. True transformation doesn't begin with announcements. It begins in solitude, in the unglamorous hours, when no one is watching, when there are no cheers, and no one's asking what you're working on. That's where champions are forged. We live in a world that celebrates visibility, likes, follows, shares. But real greatness doesn't live there. It lives in quiet, disciplined, unseen action. The kind of effort that doesn't need recognition to feel worthy. The kind of growth that happens in the dark before the spotlight ever arrives. Look at Steve Jobs. He didn't seek approval before creating the iPhone. He disappeared for months, trusting what others couldn't see, believing in a vision they couldn't grasp. And when he returned, he didn't speak the change, he showed it. You must become comfortable with being underestimated, with being overlooked, because when you're building something extraordinary, most won't understand. And that's a gift. Being unnoticed is your armor. It gives you space to learn, to fail, to iterate, without interruption. Don't be afraid to go quiet. Silence isn't weakness. It's a forge, a place where your ideas take shape without distortion, a place where your consistency sharpens your focus, and your commitment becomes unshakable. Ask yourself, are you working to be noticed, or working to be remembered? Do you want praise for your plans, or a legacy built from execution? One day, the work you're doing in silence will speak so loudly, the world won't have a choice but to listen. Until then, protect your space. Keep your fire away from the wind. It's not hiding, it's strategy. There's a reason why monks train in isolation, why athletes have off-seasons, why entrepreneurs go underground before a big reveal. They're not avoiding the world. They're preparing to serve it. Your job is not to convince others that you're on the right path. Your job is to walk it, relentlessly, faithfully, until it leads somewhere undeniable. And when you arrive, it will be obvious. Not because you told everyone you were coming, but because what you built could only have come from someone deeply committed, fiercely focused, and silently relentless. You don't owe explanations. You owe results. You don't need to be seen right now. You need to build something that makes being seen inevitable. So show up. Keep your word to yourself. Let every small effort compound into something that echoes far beyond what any words could explain. That's how you become unstoppable. Not by telling the world, but by showing it something real. There's a certain clarity that arrives when you stop performing for the crowd and start building for yourself. When you choose discipline over disclosure. When your commitment becomes internal, sacred, no longer shared, just lived. Most people confuse movement with momentum. They talk about their dreams as if that's action. They outline their plans in coffee shops, tweet their ambitions, post their routines, and feel like they've made progress. But speaking of effort is not the same as effort. A map isn't a journey. A schedule isn't sacrifice. Don't confuse conversation for contribution. The real shift happens when you no longer need to tell anyone what you're doing. You just do it, with quiet confidence, with no need for validation, because you're no longer trying to impress. You're becoming someone impressive. Look at Serena Williams. She didn't announce every training session. She didn't describe every hour of sweat. She just kept showing up, before the match, after the match, when no one else was watching. Her legacy wasn't built with language. It was built with effort. You don't have to prove your passion. Let your discipline do that. Let your calendar show your priorities. Let your routines shape your reality. Let your patterns become your proof. You know what makes people pay attention. Not declarations. Not status updates. It's consistency. Consistency is louder than the loudest voice. Consistency creates results that no one can ignore. Ask yourself, honestly, are you narrating your journey to feel productive, or are you actually taking the steps? Imagine an architect bragging about blueprints that never become buildings. Imagine a musician talking endlessly about an album they never record. That's what you risk when you choose exposure over execution. If you're serious about your dream, build it in the dark. Lay the foundation where no one is looking. Polish your craft where no one is clapping. Practice your excellence before anyone knows your name. Then, when you finally present it to the world, it will be undeniable. Not because you said so, but because it exists. Because it works. Because it shines. You're not in this for attention. You're in this for mastery, for impact, for legacy. That means the real work isn't in convincing others. It's in showing up for yourself. Let your repetition be your roar. Let your evolution be the headline. Let the finished product walk into the room before your reputation does. And when the world asks how you did it, just smile, because you already know. You didn't say it. You became it. What if the most powerful thing you could do right now is pause? Not stop, not stall, but choose stillness with purpose. See, the early phases of any big idea, of any bold dream, are delicate. They're not meant to be showcased yet. They're meant to be nurtured, matured, protected from the noise of the world until they're strong enough to stand on their own. A seed doesn't sprout under a spotlight. It pushes upward in the quiet dark. It takes root before it takes form. And so should your goals. You may feel the urge to reveal what you're working on, to share it out of excitement, to prove you're moving. But that impulse can steal from your momentum, not because others mean harm, but because once your dream is open to public view, it's also open to premature feedback, misinterpretation, and the pressure to perform instead of progress. Look at J.K. Rowling. She wasn't tweeting her novel chapter by chapter. She wrote in silence, in solitude, on napkins and scraps of paper, because the idea mattered more than the attention. And now, the world knows what she created, not because she shared it too early, but because she built it fully. Your idea deserves the same respect. Don't open the oven while the bread is rising. Don't unveil the sculpture before it's carved. Don't broadcast the flame before it's become a fire. Let the work breathe. Let it grow. Let it become something whole before it faces the wind of public perception. Because once it's ready, really ready, it won't need an introduction. It will carry weight. It will carry presence. It will speak in the language of results. Until then, wait wisely, refine silently, protect fiercely. This doesn't mean isolating. It means curating your space, choosing who gets access to your vision, filtering whose voices reach your ear. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your process. Not everyone can see what you see, and they're not supposed to. You are the guardian of your own becoming. That's your role. That's your responsibility. And when the time is right, when your vision has matured, when your plan is no longer a possibility but a product, you won't need to convince anyone. They'll see it. They'll feel it. They'll recognize the result of something cultivated with intention. Until that day arrives, let patience be your power. Keep going. Keep building. Let the silence sharpen you. You don't need to explain your dream to make it real. You need to deliver it. Tangibly, visibly, unmistakably. We live in a time where everyone's speaking, but few are actually creating. People craft elaborate narratives about what they're about to do, and somewhere along the way, that storytelling becomes a substitute for action. But results leave no room for confusion. They don't need to be justified. They don't require applause. They exist, and existence is undeniable. Think of someone like Elon Musk. Love him or not, he doesn't spend his energy describing blueprints. He builds rockets. He lands them. He delivers. That's what separates those who imagine from those who execute. So what are you choosing? Reputation or real progress? Don't become someone who recites plans with flair, but leaves no footprints behind. Be the one who moves in silence and lets outcomes speak louder than any monologue ever could. There's no need to shout when your presence enters the room with proof. You won't have to convince anyone of your discipline if the transformation is already visible. You won't have to declare your passion if your life is the evidence. Stop checking for reactions. Stop waiting for permission. What you're building doesn't require approval. It requires devotion. If you're explaining more than you're executing, flip the ratio. Let your mornings belong to progress. Let your evenings reflect that something measurable was built. Let every day leave behind a trace, an action, a decision, a creation that says, I showed up today. Because, in the end, people don't remember speeches. They remember what stood when the dust settled. They remember what you finished, not what you intended. So make your days count. Less performance, more production, less commentary, more craftsmanship. The more you invest in action, the less you'll crave recognition, because the pride won't come from praise. It'll come from knowing that when no one was looking, you did the work. And when the time comes to be seen, you won't have to raise your voice. Your legacy will do the talking. At some point, your journey will no longer be about potential. It won't be about ideas, dreams, or declarations. It will be about proof, about what actually exists because of your discipline. And the question won't be, what are you working on? It'll be, what have you made real? True legacy isn't about how well you talk. It's about how deeply you build. It's about the work that continues to echo long after you've moved on. That doesn't happen by seeking approval. That happens by moving with purpose, day in, day out, with or without applause. Consider Bruce Lee. He wasn't performing for crowds. He was mastering movement, training in silence, reshaping philosophy, redefining what was possible with his body and mind. And when the world finally noticed, it wasn't because he asked for attention. It was because his evolution left no choice. This is what it means to become undeniable, to be so focused, so consistent, so committed, that even your silence leaves an impression. So, if they don't understand what you're doing, good. That means you're ahead. If they laugh, perfect. That means you're not following. If no one notices, excellent. That means you're still in the lab, still refining, still becoming. You don't owe anyone a preview of your greatness. You owe yourself the fullness of your effort. The truth is, what you're becoming isn't for everyone to comprehend. It's for you to complete. And once it's complete, it won't need a backstory. It will be the story. Let your journey feel private. Let your routine feel repetitive. Let your results feel inevitable. Because when it's all said and done, your work will speak. Your presence will represent your path. And your silence will be the loudest thing they remember. No hashtags. No slogans. Just the rhythm of relentless action. You're not here to be admired. You're here to become. Not for attention. Not for applause. But because something inside you said, this is the life I'm meant to create. So build it. Protect it. Own it. And when the world finally turns its head, smile. Not because you need their recognition, but because you never needed it in the first place.